Good evening, Greg here, burning both ends. Burning on the back end of Thursday. It's July 12th, 2018, 11:30 on the dot p.m. Pacific. And so, just another great day. So I was in at the office today. I wasn't working from home. I really hit the HBD project pretty hard. I had one customer discovery interview today for iCore. So iCore is this tech transfer entrepreneurial training I'm in, right? We're in week 6 of 8. Getting toward the end of week 6, so next week is the last real week on the ground. We're looking really good for hitting our quota of 75 interviews. And what's really awesome, right? So we're learning about these customer discovery interviews. We're learning about the ecosystem. We're learning about the business model canvas. This is all based on the Lean Startup model by Steve Blank after the .com bust. And it's just really phenomenal program. Just hats off to our federal government for adopting it. A few agencies have nodes that run it. I'm part of the DOE component of it. NIH has one. NSF has one. I heard the NSF one is really hardcore. But anyway, really, this program is really opening my eyes to just how much work it is to build a business. Even though I've had 2 startups. I did not run them in kind of as per the Lean Startup model. I wish I would have known about that. There were some things I did that are in alignment with it, with this model, but I really wish I would have known this back then. But still working on my time machine, so until I get that working, and I just have to keep moving forward. And this reminds me of this Chinese proverb, and I love this one. It's like, what's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. What's the second best time? Today. So I like that one. So it's all about today. It's all about being in the present. It's all about just what can I leverage from today? What did I learn today? What can I leverage and implement tomorrow? And that's where I'm at. This is the journey I'm on, aspiring entrepreneur. So I am on the path. And so let's see. I think we're at 67 interviews right now. We have 2 tomorrow, 2 on the books, plus I'm heading to an event where I think I'll be able to capture 2 or 3 more. So I think we'll be close to 70 by the end of the week. And then we already have a few that we're lining up for next week. So we are in great shape to get our 75. And, it is a bit of a box to check as far as the program goes. It is important. But at the same time, it's like, just be careful about just looking for a number of interviews. Excuse me. You want to make sure that these are quality interviews. And what I can really say about our team is we're really doing a great job in converging, on a very specific application. And today, one of our interviews, actually, we only had one today. Today, our interview really did he was able to verify and validate a lot of points that a bunch of other folks made without us leading him down that road. And so, and that's the critical thing about the interviews, is that to really get an unbiased response, open-ended questions, not leading questions, and kind of generalize it as much as possible. And I have to admit, I'm really proud of myself. I'm getting really good at opening the call, because that's my job. My job is to open the call, set the context. Typically, we go around, we do a little intro, just so that way the person that we're interviewing knows who's on the call and what kind of backgrounds we have. And then we kind of get into it, and it's very easy to dip into the technology. It's very easy because the person that we're interviewing is typically a very technical person, and they're interested. They're just curious about, well, what do you guys have? And steering them away from that, or steering them in the direction of not technically what we're doing, but from a product standpoint, what benefits our product could have, or a potential product could have, that comes out of our technology, because that's really what we're trying to do here. And steering them to the benefits, steering them to what it's going to provide them, as opposed to how we're doing it, and also giving them options to tap into their expertise. Because some of these interviews, we're not exactly sure the value that this person can bring. We know that they're relevant, but we don't know exactly what they're going to be able to tell us. And so opening a few doors and seeing which one they walk in. I'll say things like, well, we're interested in creating a MVP, a minimum viable product, so we need to understand requirements for that product. What would that look like? What would that MVP look like if we handed it to you and you tested it and you were like, yeah, this thing's got legs, let's rock and roll with it. Other things, so I'll say, other things that we're looking for is like, what's the process from a business standpoint about how we would integrate our product in, our component into your product line. Like what is that a 12-month process? Is that an 18-month process? What's the revenue? Like, for example, we just learned that with one specific customer, we would get a percentage of sales, as opposed to we sell them 10 of these things and they pay us for 10, which is a whole different kind of ballgame, because it really lowers the risk for them, increases the risk for us. Do we want to work with that partner? Would one of the competitors have a different model? Very important stuff. And today we learned that one of the right. So essentially, with our application, there are 3 big players in the world, and so we got to play with one of them, which is good and bad. It's bad because they're all big companies and they could easily squash us and take our technology and just say, yeah, we're just going to take it from you. Too bad. The good is that way, if we do integrate and partner with them, now we're instantly kind of not at the forefront, but we're instantly in a very good position to get our component marketed to the world, right? It's almost like working with McDonald's. If I sell something to McDonald's and I get one of my products on their menu, even though I'm not sure if they do that, but just go with me on the example, like instantly I'm global, right? So I have Greg's, special French fry seasoning, whatever you want to call it, right? Let's call it that. And so now they're going to put my French fry seasoning on their fries. The minute they announce that, my seasoning is now all over the globe. And so that's the benefit to partnering with some of these bigger companies, is that you get that distribution, you get that that reach that you'd never have, that I'd never have as just a startup in the corner here of Albany, in the corner of the world. So that's the so it's a double-edged sword, and it's interesting to learn about it because each company is going to do that differently. Each company is going to handle working with a startup, integrating a potential component to a product, how they go about testing. Some might be very, we develop everything in-house. We learned that there's one customer, they're happy to bring in other technologies. In fact, the gentleman said, that's pretty much what we do. We buy other companies to get their technologies, and that's all we do. Some people like building it from the ground up. So, and then we also learned one key thing is that the specific kind of thin slice that we are, well, it's not that thin. Actually, we're learning that it's a nice fat slice, which is actually really cool. At first, we thought it was a thin slice, but it's a real fat slice of this overall area that we're looking in. And obviously, which gives us a lot of good confidence in this business model that it's actually can make some decent money, and it's got a lot of growth, right? So this fat slice we're looking at is projected to grow in the next 10 years substantially, actually. So it's very exciting, and so what we learned is this specific company is not really competitive in this slice. The 2 other companies kind of own that slice. And so you can imagine that this company that we're talking to might want to take a little bit more risk to be competitive there, whereas the other 2 might be a little bit more risk averse to trying something new, because what they have right now is already working. So anyway, I hope that explanation is coming through because I just, unfortunately, I can't speak specifics right now for many reasons, but it's the bottom line is that we're getting close to 70 interviews. We're starting to hear, like, I don't say the same things over and again, but we're starting to hear like some repetition in what's going on, and that begins to validate what's happening, because it's hard to understand what the facts are, right? You got to be years in the business to really say these are solid facts. I mean, what can you really find out in 6 to 7 weeks? But we're starting to come across these critical pieces here, which is exciting. And And it's exciting because a lot of hard work is paying off, and then B, it shows that this process, this lean startup model really works. This is really a fantastic way to go about doing this, and so very excited about that. And then the other thing, and this is a totally different topic, and by the way, I was not able to keep my commitment of working on the presentation for a half an hour today. So shame on me. I don't know what to say. There's no way to BS around that one. I was not able to do it. I can throw out a lot of excuses, but at the bottom line is I wasn't able to do that. So I will commit. Once again, I will recommit, correct and continue, right? This is all, mistakes are okay. It's just let's not make the same mistake twice. So I will commit to doing that tomorrow. I will spend a half an hour on the presentation tomorrow. Now, so I guess the question is, what happens if by tomorrow night's post, if I still have not been able to do it? That should shed some light on something. Now I do have a busy day tomorrow, so I don't know when I'm going to squeeze this in. My wife left for 5-day trip today, so I got a little bit more burden with the kids, but I'm fairly certain that I'll be able to do it tomorrow morning, just after the post. I think that I can. I think I'll have a good shot at getting to bed by midnight tonight and getting up at 5, and then I think I can do that. We'll see. I mean, I want to commit to that. I just, there's a lot going on, and I'll explain what's going on. So, well, first of all, I'm the one that has my kids. So if they get up really early tomorrow for some odd reason, I have to help them out. I have to hang out with them. So that might eat into it. That's why it's hard for me to really commit. I mean, when you have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, you never know what's going to happen. So it's really hard to just lock in something, especially with the missus, out of town. So, but that'll be the goal. So that'll be the first slot that I have. The second slot is right when I get to the office. I don't know why I just slouched real low right there. That's kind of weird. Right when I get to the office, I'll have an hour before the first customer discovery interview. The first one's at 10, and then I have one at 11, and then I'm getting in the car. I'm driving down to Santa Clara for a 4-hour kind of training slash mini conference. And so, and unfortunately, there's going to be crazy traffic I'm going to deal with tomorrow, but it's just kind of part of the deal. So I think I'm going to rock some Gary Vee on the way there and back. So if I can't do it tomorrow morning just after the post, then I can do it right when I get to the office. Yes. So I got 2 slots that I can throw it in, and I'm going to make one of those work. Here, I can do that. I can commit to making one of those work. Even if I break it out in 15 minutes in one slot and 15 in the second, I can do the half an hour. So I will commit to that, and this is interesting, this drama that I'm creating about this presentation. It's fascinating. I'm sure there's a lot of psychology behind this. But then another thing has come up recently. So if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we were battling bed bugs. This is a whole different problem to solve. And so since then, bed bugs we have not eradicated them. And I've learned a lot about these little suckers. And as strange as they are, I have to give them a lot of credit. They are survivors. I mean, these things are incredible as far as what they can do. They can essentially live for 6 or 7 or 8 months without eating. It's almost like you can't believe it. So today, well, anyway, so we've learned that we still have them, and they've migrated around the house, and these things I've been reading about, and they're like really hard to get rid of. And so we had a gentleman come by with a dog today, and the dog can sniff them out. And the dog not found them specifically, but at least picked up the scent in a few places where we kind of thought they were, but we didn't find specific bugs, unfortunately. So now we have to go through this process of, do we handle it ourselves? Do we get professional help? And if you ever had to solve this problem, this is not an envious problem to solve. This is a tough one to solve. It costs thousands of dollars. Believe it, thousands of dollars. if we want to hire someone professionally to do it. So, and here I'll drop some wisdom down, right? So, the best way to do it is to fumigate, and that's $4,000 to $5,000. That takes about 4 days. You gotta obviously live somewhere else, but that does the trick, 100%, no doubt. But $4,000 to $5,000, yes, $4,000 to $5,000. Crazy. The second best way to do it is you hire someone and they do like a heat treatment with like steam, because evidently these things die with not too much heat, like 120 degrees F, which is not too hot. I mean, typically if you go in your shower and turn it on as hot as it can get, it's going to get above 120 F. So obviously steam at 212 is definitely enough heat, and so there's like a steam cleaning process or a steaming process. But the thing is, like, you don't know where they are, so you just steam everything. It's kind of crazy, and it's not like they're so tiny you can't see them. I mean, they're decent size. It's just that they can hide so well, and they can hide for a long period of time. That's the problem. And that, you know, if you start doing stuff and they just start hiding, you might have to wait 6 months. That's why it's crazy. And then, you know, and then of course there's a chemical treatment that you can do. But this is the challenge, is that if you start looking online, you want to do it yourself, you'll be convinced that you can buy enough sprays and foams and powders and what have you that's going to kill them. But what we learned today is that, unfortunately, what they sell on the open market is not nearly as powerful as what an exterminator can buy with a license. And so that's the challenge, is that you might, and these bugs are unbelievably resistant to this stuff. And they become more and more resistant, and so it's just crazy. I mean, it's like everything you learn about them, you just like, oh, geez, more and more. And then we also learned this is about 20% of the population, and this must really be horrible, don't react to the bites. So you can imagine you could have bed bugs and not even know it. At least some of us are reacting to the bites. You know, they look like mosquito bites. But like, for example, my wife hasn't really been bitten. My youngest daughter, as far as we know, hasn't been bitten. So they might be resistant or not react to the bites. I mean, think of how horrible that is. It's like, so you could have bed bugs, not know it, and then the infestation just grows. I mean, it's horrible. So let's see, what else have I learned? Oh yeah, right. And so what this guy recommended is, if you can't fumigate and you don't have the cash to do that, then hire someone. The next best thing is to do the steaming and the chemical, kind of a double action thing. Because, you know, once you do the steaming, they're going to start to run away, and then you can have them like run into the chemical, right? You kind of put it by the baseboards and you steam things, and they run out, and then they get stuck in the chemical stuff. But this is a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and also there are heaters involved, because that's another way to heat things up. But anyway, so the dog was very, very cute, but unfortunately found him in 3 spots in our 2 bedrooms, which we kind of assumed. But then also they were on our living room carpet, our rug, I guess, right? So we've thrown the rug away, but I think they got into one of our couches, and so it's just, I mean, they're just, when you see these little suckers, you realize that they can hide anywhere. And I don't know why I'm talking about this so long. It's just, it's so fascinating and such a pain in the butt. And so we're really going to have to figure out how we're going to do this. We do have 2 leads on some exterminators, and I really appreciate the gentleman that came with the dog, because their whole business model is they figured out a while back that it's a severe conflict of interest if they have the dog and find the bugs and also do the treatments, right? Because I think about how much of a racket that could be, right? And so all they do is bring the dog and nothing else, and then they have some like referrals, and then of course in the back of your mind you're like, well, do they get kickbacks? You know, all that kind of stuff goes on. But we'll have to see. Part of me wants to take this on myself, and this gentleman that came by today, he's been in the business for 20 years, and he's like, he's only known 2 people that have done it themselves. But then you go online, you go to Amazon, you read some reviews, and you learn about a lot of folks that have done it themselves, and maybe the people that call this guy have it really bad. And if it's really bad, maybe that's a lot more difficult to get rid of. But I guess, the bottom line is that you just need to not get a few of them, and they're going to build their population again. And evidently, so how does it work? So I think that the eggs get laid, and about 2 to 3 weeks later they hatch, and then you got more bugs. And you know, I guess the good news is that these bugs, even though they're annoying and they bite and they leave itchy bites, there's no disease concern. There's really, I mean, it's just a nuisance. It's all it is a nuisance. And so, I mean, I think we're going to try to tackle ourselves, because, you know, even the steam clean and the heat and the chemical treatment, it's probably going to be $2 to $3 grand. So, and I don't believe that that's guaranteed to work. I think you got like 1 in 4 times it doesn't work. 20 to 30% it does not work. And so, do you do it again? I mean, so you can imagine that maybe you just do the fumigate. You just suck it up and pay the $5 grand. But I can't. Throwing down $5 grand for that. Oh, I mean, what a. You know, it makes me want to, you know, and to have the dog come by is about $200. And so it makes me want to do my best, bring the dog back around, see if I did it. That's only another $200, and then if I can't, then it's like, all right, then we bring in some professional. So I ordered a heat gun on Amazon. I ordered a spray and then a powder, and we'll see. So we'll see how it goes. And you know, just I guess the worst part about it is just seeing my girls get bitten is just horrible. I mean, of course, I'll get bites, but whatever, I'll deal with it. But seeing my 7-year-old walk around with bites, it just breaks your heart. So there was about good solid 7 minutes of bed bug education. So I hope that none of you ever have to deal with this. We're going through it, and this is what you find with kids is you're going to be exposed to this kind of thing. You're going to be exposed to lice, probably bed bugs, maybe not. I don't know. I don't think I ever dealt with that as a kid. I'm not sure. I don't remember. And then also fleas is another thing. Right? We dealt with fleas actually at our last house. There was a stray cat that hung out in our backyard and brought fleas to our backyard. And so you'd walk through the backyard and you get a flea or two on you, and then you walk in the house and now you got fleas in the house. Talking about another, I mean, now fleas are really tiny, and you can feel them bite. They're a little different. Whereas the bed bugs, you can't feel them at all. Oh yeah, another thing about the bed bugs is they have like an anesthetic in their whatever their biting thing. I don't know what it's called. Because it's not a stinger, because they actually suck blood out of you. So their mouth or straw, whatever you call that thing. So they have an anesthetic, so you can't even feel them bite you, which is great. And they're so light, I don't think you can even feel them crawl on you, which is kind of freaky. So, but yeah, we'll get through it. I know we will. I hope it's, you know, on the do-it-yourself cheaper path. Maybe it takes a little bit longer, but you know, could be a little cheaper. Would hate to invest several $1,000s in solving this problem. So far we're, let's see, 200. We're probably about $300, $350 in right now. I just ordered about $80 of stuff. No, like $60 of stuff. The first time I bought about $60 of stuff as well. So that's what, 120 plus 200. So we're $320 in right now, and we'll and so once this stuff arrives, we'll go to town. I know a lot more now, so I know what to do. Let's see if we can execute and see if we can eradicate this, and then it's going to be at least another 200 to get the dog back. So, but I guess the good news is we've thrown a lot of stuff away, some old rugs that we've had for a while, so that's kind of a good thing. A little purge. Probably gonna end up throwing a lot away, throwing away a lot of things in the kids' room, which is a good thing. So another purge there. So yeah, I'm just, it's really healthy for me to talk about this. Freaking bagging. But it's a lot of respect for these little suckers. I don't know, is respect the right word? But well, we'll get through it. We will get through it. It's interesting. The many forms of life on this planet. Fascinating. So I will leave it there. And so this is a very odd post. So I started with some really cool entrepreneurial stuff, and I ended up with some just part of living in this modern world and living in a nice climate and living with children and the various things that they pick up at school and at camp. I mean, because we have no idea where these things came from. So, right, hotels, I'm not sure. I've stayed at hotels for years and years. I've never had this problem. So I don't know if it came from a recent hotel stay. But I have to say I never knew what a problem this is. It's a really interesting problem. So we will see how we solve it. Hope it's not that big a deal. But we will see. So I will leave it there. Yeah, that's enough about the bed bugs. So so this is about my life's journey as an aspiring entrepreneur, as a bed bug killer. Aspiring exterminator. Hopefully not. I don't think I want to go into that business, even though it's incredibly important business as I'm learning right now. So subscribe if you want to learn more about bed bugs, being an entrepreneur, my journey, the successes, the failures, the struggles, the challenges, all this good stuff. So comment down below, ask me questions, ask for help. I'd love to help. Links down in the description. I am so tired, I have to admit. It's just been a full night of I'm just starting to dissect my daughter's room. So they're sleeping in my bed right now. So I'm just starting to pull that room apart and just inspect everything. And I'm using my wife's hair dryer right now because that definitely gets hot enough. And looking forward to getting that heat gun in, and then some of the other chemicals, and just go to town. So so I will leave it there. So get some rest. I'm definitely excited to get some rest. Wake up tomorrow, light it up, inspire folks, do great things. I'm going to bed. I will see you in the morning.